Hi everyone, Crazy Keto Guy here. Today's been a pretty productive day. Um, I've set about shooting some shorter videos that focus on a particular aspect of my training. Um, as some of you that might have watched my videos, sometimes I do waffle on. So I'm trying to make these a little bit shorter. I did say 10 to 15 minutes. And the first one I did earlier ran on to 20 minutes. So we'll have to see if we can adhere to the 10 to 15 minute time frame. So the video earlier, funny enough, surprise, surprise, was all about me, just giving people a background from my life prior to training and then since I've started training. And the first aspect of that change is what I'm going to talk about today in this video, which is the ketogenic diet. Now, prior to this, just the only bit of backstory I'm going to give, not to keep repeating stuff. I'm a 52-year-old type 2 diabetic who basically ignored his diabetes for pretty much 15 years. My blood sugars, my HbA1c was horrendous, about 2.5 to 3 times that of a normal human being. So I took the decision to start a ketogenic diet. Now, let me just say a few, I don't know if you call them disclaimers, but there are other diets out there, and I'm sure there are other diets that can help you achieve the same things that I've been able to achieve whilst being on a ketogenic diet. But for me, it's worked. Not only have I achieved reducing my blood sugars, not only have I reduced my medication, not only have I reduced my weight, I just feel good all round. So the ketogenic diet is a version of a low carb diet. It's not the only low carb diet, and some people almost deem it as the extreme end. And I guess sometimes I can understand why people say that. But what I want to say straight away is I call it the ketogenic diet, and I hate the word diet. But it doesn't feel like a diet. In my 52 years, I've always had an issue with weight. As I say, even though that wasn't my primary reason this time round. And I've tried loads of different diets, and I normally crash off because it just felt so restricted. And normally, and I'm sure people can echo this through their own experiences, normally I used to crash off twice as hard. I'd put the weight back and some with interest. So yeah, for me, when I started the ketogenic diet, I'd kind of done it twice before, and the 2 times I'd done it before, I fell off of it after 6 weeks on both occasions. I think that was because I wasn't really educated. I hadn't researched and looked into this whole concept of a ketogenic diet. The 2 times I'd done it before, actually, I thought I was doing like a keto plus diet because I wasn't loading up on the fats like you're supposed to. And I know that sounds crazy, loading up on fats. What's that all about? But this time round, I did a lot of research. I had a couple of weeks prior to starting, so I watched a lot of videos. Now, YouTube and, well, I was going to say Google and YouTube were my friends. I'm going to reference a few people as we go through this, and I would seriously suggest you don't listen to some 52-year-old who thinks he now is an expert on the ketogenic diet, which I certainly don't. I still learn every day, but I'm going to reference a few people, and I would suggest you, again, Google or / YouTube them. So a big hero, I'm a bit of a fanboy, is Thomas the lawyer. That's Thomas, Delauer, Thomas the lawyer. Now he's a guy that's actually lived the life. He lost 100 pounds. He's been on a ketogenic diet for 10 years. That doesn't mean he's only lost £10 a year, may I add. He was a very big 286 pound American college athlete. And if you saw him now, you would probably not believe the before and after picture. He's on the front cover of pretty much every health magazine. But he is amazing. His knowledge, the science that backs up what he talks about is amazing. And his channel on YouTube has been going for ages. There's so much information on there. It is an absolute wealth of knowledge. So anyone who's considering the ketogenic diet, I would definitely reference Thomas the lawyer, Delauer, on YouTube. So I got into the ketogenic diet, and again, to give you some sciencey bits, even though I'm not a super intellectual doctor or professor, I think if you look at a traditional diet, or just a traditional what people eat, their normal plate, if we imagine a plate as 100%, is filled with 70% carbs, some protein and some fat making up the rest, but predominantly it's carbs. It's rice, it's pasta, it's potatoes, it's bread. It's a combination of them things. We're snacking on biscuits, we're eating cakes, we're eating sweets. So it's a lot of processed carbohydrates, a lot of processed sugar. Now, the bottom line, whether you like to hear this or not, is processed carbohydrates and processed sugars are bad for you in so many ways. Some of the arch enemies in your health and your well-being, believe it or not, is the level of insulin that's in your body, the level of inflammation that's in your body, sugars, glucose, whatever you want to call them. It's not good. So you need to bring them down. So a ketogenic diet has a much different makeup on its plate. And this surprises people and maybe even scares people. The plate is made up of 80% fat, 15% protein, 5% carbs. You've got a bit of wiggle room, 75% fat, 20% protein, 5% carbs. There's a few variations. I don't think keto is one size fits all. I don't think it's black and white, cast in stone. I do think you need to find your own. And there are a few different names associated with different types of keto. There's clean keto, there's dirty keto, very much mine. I'm very dirty keto, and lazy keto. And I kind of think of lazy and dirty as the same, but somebody said to me it's slightly different in as much as lazy is you totally don't follow your macros or like count them, but you just make sure you're under 20 grams. Somebody then said, or the same person said, that dirty keto is just people that eat any kind of food as long as it fits within their macros. Maybe that's a bit harsh on me. I do watch a lot of what I eat, but at the same time, I think sometimes the other end, the clean keto, can be almost fanatical. I'll give you an example. I've been banned from 2 groups because I was dirty keto in their opinion, and they didn't want me. I was controversial. I'd be amazed at how they would talk to people who said things like, oh yeah, I've had this mayonnaise, and they would almost be like run out of town because they'd had mayonnaise that may potentially be dirty. Anyway, so yeah, there's kind of different mindsets, I guess. So when you look at the plate, the 80% fat, I think a mistake I made at the start was thinking that was a green light for me to just eat as much fat as I wanted. And I actually put 7 pound on the week I started keto. Now, I don't think I was being overly bad, but I do think maybe the amount of fat that I was having, i.e. cream in coffee, might have been a bit over the top. So you're trying to eat good fats as best as you can. So when you start a ketogenic diet, you should get your macros worked out. Now, there are some people out there that charge, and that amazes me, because there are loads of free, what they call like keto calculators that will calculate what your macros should be. So macros are micronutrients. All food is broken up into fat, carbs, proteins, and calories. So knowing what your macros should be each day will tell you how many grams of each and what the total amount of calories are that you should be eating. And it's good to know that you are thereabouts with your macros, in my opinion. I've seen some people who get very upset and demotivated because they are, oh, you know, I didn't make my protein macro, or, you know, I've gone slightly over on my carbs. I think carbs is probably, for me, the most important, as in I do try and religiously stay under 20 grams of carbs a day. Just on the carbs, I think this is another thing that I found in the 20 odd weeks I've been doing this. It gets a bit confusing. If you watch somebody in America like Thomas the Lawyer talking about carbs, their nutritional breakdown on a product doesn't take out certain things that you can take out. This gets a bit confusing. So, for example, you can where it shows you the carbs and then the fiber, apparently you can take the fiber off of the carbs. I might be getting this a bit squiffy, so please Google it so it makes more sense, because I still haven't got my head around it myself. But whereas in the UK, the carbs that it shows on a nutritional breakdown on a product is actually the number. So that's probably better. So do the keto calculator, get your macros. Macros are based on a few things like sex, male or female, age, weight, how active you are. So there's a few things you'll have to answer that will then end up with you getting your macros. How many grams of carbs, how many grams of protein, how many grams of fat, and ultimately how many calories. And you can obviously break that up however you are going to eat throughout the day, however many meals, you know, you break that down into. But I don't really count my macros, and that must sound crazy. Because I cook a lot of stuff myself with fresh ingredients, I find it very hard to work out how much a portion of a bolognese is, how much a portion of a chili is, with all of the different ingredients. And so what I did on one occasion over the space of about 4 or 5 days is every day I made a point of counting every single bit of my food. And over those 4 days, I was pretty spot on, or very much thereabouts, on all of my macros. So that told me that I was doing it right, that I had a good grasp. I still think portion size, especially when I'm cooking something like a curry or a bolognese or a chili or a goulash, maybe a little bit big still, but the macros suggested not. The macros suggested I was pretty spot on. So I was very happy that the few days that I'm probably going to do it again. I've got a few new things that I eat on quite a regular basis. So I think that's good if you've got something, like for me, I do a fry up an omelette, a vegetable omelette with cheese in the omelette as well as the vegetables. I do bacon, I do some guacamole, and I worked it out, and it was again a really good mix for my macros. It sort of fitted the breakdown of the macros, so that was good. You can, in this modern age that we live in, use a few apps. I can't remember the name of one that everyone seems to say, but there's one called Carb Manager that a lot of people rant about. You have to get the settings right. You have to apparently set it to net carbs instead of like gross carbs, I guess. Total carbs, I think it's called. Because of the UK difference in how we work out our nutritional breakdown. But Carb Manager seems like a really good one. I know there is another one that always gets mentioned, but I can't for the sake of me think of it. So that's an option if you do want to keep a close account of what you're taking in on a daily basis, macro-wise. As I say, the fats, that massive 75-80%, try and make them good fats where you can. So I've gone on to a lot of like coconut oil, avocado oil. I obviously have fat content in the MCT oil that I have. So, you know, there are good fats and there's bad fats, and it's a matter of really trying to fill your diet as much as you can with the good fats. Don't be scared of saturated fats, but things like trans fats are obviously an absolute no-no, the bad fat end. It's the same with carbs. You're allowed 20 grams of carbs, but if you can make them good carbs as opposed to bad carbs, so rather than a slice of bread, you know, a slice of white bread's probably even more than 20 grams. I can't remember off the top of my head. You're better to be having some broccoli. You know, the nutritional value is so much better. I had an argument on one of the clean keto forums, just again to go back to that, where one moderator was trying to tell somebody that they could have literally unlimited amounts of cream in their coffee. And my only comment was, well, 100 milliliters of a good pouring cream, for example, is about 400 or 500 calories. And the suggestion, the woman had already said she has about 7 cups of coffee a day, and could she have 100 milliliters in each one? Well, you're then talking about 3,500 calories just in pouring cream, which no one will ever convince me is a good idea. So that got me in a lot of trouble. So, you know, if you look at the nutritional benefits of pouring cream, it's probably zero. It's nice because it makes the coffee better, taste better, whatever, and you are getting an element of fat in your diet. But I will never buy into the idea that you can have an unlimited amount of fat, an unlimited amount of cream. So try and fill it with good fats, try and fill it with good carbs, try and fill it with good proteins, quality meat. That they talk a lot about grass-fed, grass-finished. Now, I don't know where in the UK you can get that kind of stuff. I always try and buy organic if I can, but that's not the same as grass-fed, grass-finished. So there are things that you can look for that improve the quality of all of those things that we put in our mouth and in our stomach that ultimately affect our health. I have run on, as you can probably all guess, nearly 20 minutes. I'm not quite finished yet either. So, ketogenic diet is massive. It's massive for a normal person. It's even more massive, in my opinion, for a type 2 diabetic. I can't comment on type 1 diabetes. I've heard things saying it's dangerous because obviously type 1 diabetics can't have a lot of ketones in their body. So that kind of, I think, makes it a no-go. But for a type 2 diabetic, especially if you're struggling with your blood sugars. For me, it took it down from 12.5 and higher to 6 in 12 weeks. I'm in the second batch of 12 weeks and it's looking good again. Might be slightly higher. I want to always have it between sort of 6 and 7 because I'm not extreme. You know, I'm not clean keto. Maybe if I was, it'd be under 6 even. Who knows? But I think you've got to have an element of enjoyment. You don't want it to feel like a chore. You don't want it to be boring and restrictive, because that's just not sustainable. You need an element of quality of life is massive, but you need an element of enjoyment of life. So, as I say, it does mean a total transformation. It does mean giving up bread, potatoes, pasta, rice, biscuits, cakes, sweets. Some people are now saying, well, that's all the stuff I love. Do you love life more? Do you want to have a quality of life where, I'm talking to the diabetics here, you don't go blind, you don't lose limbs, you don't have a heart attack, you don't have a stroke, you don't have kidney disease? All of these things, I've probably endangered myself by ignoring diabetes for 15 years. I can only hope that I can turn things around through the ketogenic diet and the other things that I believe go with it, and other things that I will discuss in other videos. Get yourself your macros sorted out. If you want to load up an app to monitor the macros, do. Fill your diet with 80 or at least 75% fat. Try and make them good fats. 20% protein, good proteins, and 5% carbs. That equates to 20 grams of carbs a day, or less if you can, and certainly not bad carbs. Fill them with as good carbs as you can. Green leafy vegetables, berries, other vegetables. So you've got to be careful with vegetables, and you've got to be careful with fruit, because some of them have got far more carbs in them than you realize. One example, apples. One single apple, 14 grams of carbs. So if you've got 20 grams over a day and you're having a 14-gram apple, plus sugar, it's got natural sugars in it. So yeah, you kind of got to go. There's so much out there on Google, on YouTube, the likes of Thomas DeLore talking about it. One other guy I want to mention at the end, because I totally forgot him, and he's appropriate to diabetes, and he's appropriate to he's actually more appropriate to the next thing I'm going to talk about in the next video, which is intermittent fasting. But also look at Dr. Jason Fung, F-U-N-G. I think he's got his own YouTube channel, but someone told me recently it's been hacked, and he hasn't been able to get it back yet, which is crazy. But he's a doctor that works in the diabetic field. He actually runs a clinic for diabetics who are having complications, and we're talking like the bad end of complications, not getting a bit tingly in the toes, but the really life-threatening stuff. And he really does talk a lot actually about, as I say, my next subject in the next video, which is intermittent fasting. But maybe that's a good link into the next video, and will make it interesting for those following it. So yeah, if you're going to go on a ketogenic diet, know that it's not easy. It is a sacrifice. You are giving up a lot of the foods that you love. It's not cheap. Okay, if you're going to do it properly, for some reason in the world that we live in, they have made it harder for people to be healthy and lead a healthy lifestyle. The food is, as I say, a little bit dearer. The supplements, if you're going to go down the road of having MCT oil, for example, like I do, then again, that's a little bit of an expense. So it's not cheap, it's not easy, but oh my God, is it worth it? As I say, I'm a big advocate of it, what it's done, what it's helped me achieve so far. This video just is not going to be short, is it? I'm just never going to make a 10 to 15 minute video, basically. The reason I say that is I'm watching the clock and I can see it's 25 minutes nearly. And the funny thing is I know for a fact that in my head, I've missed a few things. So I'm going to say sod it. I'm going to carry on talking. I do apologise. So just again, just a little, this is going to be 30 minutes because I know this bit's going to take at least 5 minutes to explain. So I've told you how you change your diet, how the plate has now gone to this sort of 75% fat, 20% protein, 5% carbs. Your body normally will use carbs as its energy source. It's its go-to first choice energy source. When I say first choice, that's probably because it doesn't have anything else, any other energy source to go to. So because you're depriving it of carbs, the glycogen stores get exhausted, and the body can't eat carbs, or can't use carbs, sorry, should I say, as an energy source. So it decides that it needs an alternative energy source, and that is ketones. So when you start your diet, the idea is to get your body used to the fact that it's depleted glycogen, that it's, I hope I'm saying that right. Please check the science bit. But deprived of carbs, shall we say, from now on, because I'm not sure if I'm saying the right thing with glycogen. That might be something completely different. I do apologise. I've messed the video up, but I'm not going to start again. So your body starts to produce ketones, and the body will use that instead of carbs, and it basically burns the fat. It uses the stored fat as a form of energy. I hope I'm getting that bit right. Why did I add this on? Why didn't I just quit at 25 minutes? But yeah, so there might be a few technical terms and scientific terms that explain that a bit more, but that's the concept. You deprive it of carbs, it has to use a different energy source, and that is fat, basically, the ketones. I need to look this up because I'm confused now, actually, because I'm saying ketones and fat, and for me they're two totally different things. So maybe somebody needs to reply below and explain exactly the science bit of it. But I know that's like the basic. That's the, I don't know whether it's the fool's guide or the fool that's actually trying to explain it. One of the lucky things, however, with me being diabetic, is I get meters and strips that allow me to monitor my ketone level. Just a final bit, if you use the strips that you wee on, so supposedly they're okay at the start, but very unreliable the longer you're on a ketone diet, or in ketosis, if you like. The better options are the one that you blow in, but ultimately the best one, and the ones that I get for free, which is why I'm pretty blessed, are the ones that you prick your finger and take a reading on. Anything from 0.5 and above suggests that you're in ketosis, even if it's only 0.5, it's only a trace element of ketones in your blood. The optimum level they all talk about is 1.5 to 3. I've had a real mixture over the 20 weeks. Over each week, I've had low, high, low, high. I've got to say, 20 weeks in, it's now starting to consistently be better. I do still get the odd low one. Maybe that's because I've had a heavy training session. I don't know. Somebody told me they go down when you train hard because you're burning the ketones for energy. And then there are times when I've been fasting. Remember the second video talks about intermittent and extended fasting. And they've been really high. I've had nearly 3.8, I think, or 3.9 was the highest ever. So yeah, that was just talking about that. I'm going to mention one last guy, Professor Benjamin Bickman talks a lot again about how the body creates ketones how the liver creates ketones, and some of the things he believes you can do to enhance that, whether it be through diet, fasting, or even things, again, something that I do called cryotherapy or cold therapy. So there's a few things there, but just on the liver, one of the way basically the liver creates ketones, again, my understanding, apologies if my science is slightly squiffy, is the liver takes in lipids, then dependent on how high your insulin is, it will either send that back out as a lipid, as fat, or it will turn it into ketones. So when the lipid goes into the liver, it's turned into acetyl-CoA, and then that is turned into either a lipid, fat, or ketones. One important thing is there's an amino acid called L-carnitine, and that apparently is the vehicle that carries the lipid into the liver to then have it turn into acetyl-CoA. Some people can be deficient in L-carnitine. I used to take, and well, still do, a 500 milligram capsule as part of my supplements of L-carnitine. When I watched Benjamin Bickman talk about L-carnitine and the part that it plays in creating ketones, I decided to get a high strength supplement in addition to the capsule that I was already taking. And if you Google it, there's a consensus that 500 is your maximum dose. But then you'll hear other people saying you can have between 2,000 to 3,000 milligrams. So the supplement that I bought, it suggested if you took 1 tablespoon, 15 milliliters, that was the equivalent of 1,500 milligrams. And that kind of fitted with the 2,000 suggestion and what I was going to do. All I can tell you is it can have an effect on your bowel movements. This is also true with magnesium, which is an important supplement and one that I take, that also can have, or certain magnesiums can have an effect on your bowel movement. But I can tell you that when I started taking the high strength carnitine and I was taking a tablespoon, oh my God. So more recently, I've dropped all the way down to 1 teaspoon, so 500 milliliters, or 500 milligrams, should I say, the equivalent of. And yeah, even still, let's put it this way. The 2 days I go to the gym, I make sure I don't have any of the high strength L-carnitine. The days when I'm at home, working in the office, training on the exercise bike, whatever, are the only days that I will dare have it, because I want the ensuite to be 20 foot away. So yeah, maybe I'm overdoing it even with just 1 teaspoon. Maybe I just didn't need the extra. But I think it was because I was having such low results when I started with my ketones. My ketone levels were consistently on that just trace or, just above. I was trying things that I thought could improve it. Now, if you look at my improvement, but even when I started taking the L-carnitine, I wouldn't say there was a massive jump in my ketones. It's only the last couple of weeks where I've noticed my ketones have started to show, a much better result. So maybe my body has now adjusted, got, used to it, and is really kicking out those ketones a lot more efficiently than at the start. I did also wonder about insulin, the fact that, again, like I said, the liver will turn that acetyl-CoA into either a lipid or a ketone, dependent on the level of insulin that's in your body. And as a type 2 diabetic, obviously I'm still creating my own insulin. The pancreas hasn't, stopped, and I create insulin, and then I'm putting in exogenous ketones. So I wondered if that was the reason why I was having such a low ketone result. But as I say, over time I've reduced my medication, and I'm taking a fraction of the insulin that I was at the start. Might be interesting if I totally ever come off of insulin completely, to see whether my ketones go up even higher. But I know I'm pretty much in ketosis most of the time at a decent level. So yeah, I'm happy with where I am at the moment. So wow, the short video is now over 35 minutes and counting. I just want to try and make sure that if people are going to watch this, there's information in there. As I say, do reference the Thomas DeLores, the Dr. Jason Fong, the Professor Benjamin Bickman. Another one I'm going to chuck in there, even though she sort of crosses a lot of the stuff I'm doing at the moment, is Dr. Ronda Rousey. She's UFC. Dr. Rhonda Patrick. Apologies to Rhonda Patrick, even though you might take that as a compliment. I don't know. Who's another amazing brain on nutrition and health and things that you can do to improve your life. So wow, this has turned into super long, but I am passionate about the ketogenic diet and the benefits it can have, especially, as I say, for type 2 diabetics, because I am a type 2 diabetic. I'm even more passionate about that. So hopefully there's bits that you've taken out of this. If it's not been informative, at least it might have prompted you to do some of your own research and reference some of the people that I've mentioned, and give you a better understanding and an idea of what can be achieved. Even though this has been a cock-up of a video, please feel free to like it, share it. Please subscribe. I promise that most of my videos are not as wobbly with the sciencey bits. But yeah, would be great to get subscribers underneath somewhere. Subscribe button. There's a little bell as well if you are really twisted and want to be alerted when I'm giving other videos, loading up other videos. But anyway, yes, so that's it. I hope you've enjoyed it. This is Crazy Keto Guy. I don't know why when I say Crazy Keto Guy, I go all American. Hey, this is Crazy Keto. Maybe I should have just made out I was American from the start. Hi, this is Crazy Keto Guy. Don't know. I'm sure Americans don't make that noise. Anyway, that's it. Much love. Take care. Bye.